Hi, this is Chris Day, Managing Editor of the Florence Morning News and scnow.com. The City of Florence gave an update on the low water pressure situation that has been ongoing since Christmas Day. Let's take a look at their press conference.
First, I want to thank everyone, especially our citizens who have been so patient and working with the city as we identify the issues that are related to our city experiencing some low water pressures. I do want to acknowledge the various partners who have worked so faithfully with us, but most importantly, first of all, to our city manager, our directors, and our City of Florence staff, who on Christmas weekend became aware of this issue, and they went out in our community to solve this solution, especially to the employees who literally were at their Christmas gatherings, also at the Christmas dinners. But when they received that call that there was an issue, they got up, got out, got dressed, and started to serve the citizens. So to you, our employees, thank you. But we did have a 6-inch water main issue, which was a leak. But we also found that there was problems within private businesses where you had some issues with leaks with sprinklers. Also within various homes, private residents, and also lines on the sides of our citizens' property that contributed to that. And I will encourage all our citizens to continue to watch for leaks. We've had some areas that have some vacant homes that have experienced these leaks. Some have really had a large amount in the yard. That's a contributing factor. So please, citizens of Florence, please continue to watch for leaks. Please continue to report that, because our citizens have been so faithful to notify us of those leaks, and that has helped as well. And I would especially like to give a thanks out to our Florence County Emergency Management, who've worked with us, and not only that, they've communicated with South Carolina Emergency Management. But know that when you think about where we're at now, we have lost water pressure. We have not lost water. So one of the things that, in correlation with them, we're seeing if there's any kind of support that they can provide. But a lot of the support now is going to cities that are in worse condition than we are, such as if you think about Mississippi, places that truly have lost water. Our water is undrinkable. So we're in a low water pressure system, which is coming up and stabilizing. So we're not at that point that we were qualified to need the things that you find coming from the South Carolina Emergency Management.
Good morning. Once we received notification from our city manager, Randy Osman, staff were called in and we began doing an investigation of the system. We didn't lose any water plant production facilities. We did have some facilities that were offline, so once we got notification that we were losing pressure, then we began to turn on water facilities that were not operating at that time. And they were not operating because the demand wasn't there prior to the leaks occurring for us to require those facilities to produce potable water for the system. And then once that occurred, we put staff in the field, and then we started investigating the entire system to determine and assess if we had any identified major or significant leaks within the water distribution system. To this point, we've only identified one major water main break, and that was on Scriven Drive, and that was repaired yesterday. But also in that process of going out and investigating the system, we've identified, as Mayor Urban said, issues that some of the public school system, Florence School District 1, and private businesses that closed for the holidays with their fire lines breaking or being broken because they had froze over during that process. So we are still out investigating and going around and looking at businesses that are still closed to make sure they have their facilities are okay, or if they do have any water that's been leaving those facilities, we can do emergency turn off and cut water off to those particular facilities. Last night, the system started to stabilize based on the production that we had from our water facilities, and the pressures recharged back to normal. This morning, we started receiving updates at 5 a.m. and the pressures were still stabilized from what they had done last night. And the latest results just came in at 11 o'clock, and the pressures are still stabilized at 11 a.m. this morning. Also, because we stabilized through the night and maintained this morning, we have staff that is out in the field collecting bacteriological samples, and those will be read early in the morning, and then we prayerfully and hopefully will be able to release the ball water advisory tomorrow morning and resume back to normal operation. And the ball water advisory is just a precaution. We didn't completely zero out the entire system, but by regulatory control by DHEC, once you get water pressure below 20 psi, then you have to issue the ball water advisory as precaution. So that was issued as precaution to the system, even though there are certain parts of the system that did not experience any pressure drop off during that process. So that was just a precaution to make our citizens aware. So we're still out this morning, and we'll continue to be out looking at vacant or empty homes, and where we do find leaks, staff will be cutting those particular businesses and homes off, and they'll be leaving door hangers to let folks know exactly what's going on if someone is not available to speak to staff when they identify a broken leak at residence and business locations today. The boil water advisory, hopefully, prayerfully, we'll be lifting that in the morning. Once we do the samples, the bacteriological analysis have an 18-hour run time. You have an 18-hour test and you have a 24-hour test. We're going to go with the 24-hour option this time because we want to try to expedite getting the water back on. So the sample should be read like 2 a.m. in the morning. So we'll be issuing that to the press by the time you do your 6 o'clock run time in the morning.
What is the normal PSI for our water system, and where are we at now?
We normally run around 50 PSI from the system as a whole. Right now we're in that 50. You might have a couple of spots that may be a tad below 50, but we're 50 system-wide. If you're closer to a water plant or elevated tank, then your water pressure is a little bit high because you're getting that extra force from the elevated tank and the water production facility. But in the system as a whole, we operate and try to maintain a 50 PSI system-wide.
And are all the groundwater plant or facilities online and working?
Yes, sir. The ones that were off are now turned on and operating. Yes, sir.
And we still have the surface water?
Yes, sir. Surface water facilities also operating. Yes, sir.
All right.
How many customers were impacted?
That was system-wide. We presently have a little over 34,000 customer tabs, which is approximately 80,000 customers. So we did the advisory for the entire system as precaution, but if there are some folks who didn't experience any major or significant drop-off in the system, but because we didn't know exactly in the initial phases where or if we had a problem, we thought it would be as best to put everybody under precaution, even though they didn't have an issue at that present time.
Any guesstimation on how much water was lost, like gallon-wise?
Gallon-wise, we've lost over the last couple of days approximately 20 million gallons.
Do you guys have any idea how much this is going to cost the city with overtime that you guys have had to, since you've had to mobilize everybody?
We haven't sat down and calculated the full cost of staffing, but that's just part of doing business, so that's not a cost that we are worried about at this particular point in time. The biggest thing is going back and identifying the adjustment and notifying the public for this situation and into the future whenever a major winter freeze, because we're still just starting winter started last week. As we get into January and February, what precautions to take, and then we'll make sure our staff is doing a better job of looking at, paying attention to the system and try to give us early alerts when they see trends that might be occurring so we can make proper adjustment to the system, trying to minimize the impact to our customers.
Now, about 4 o'clock on Christmas Day was when we first noticed it. What was the situation that stemmed all this to get started? Did you guys just start getting calls about low water pressure, or
Yes, sir. We started getting calls about low water pressure, and then so we mobilized staff, and staff reported, and then we got out and started looking. We divided the city up into 4 quadrants, so we sent employees in every section of the city to identify on our main 36-inch line that leaves our surface water facility, that comes down Williston Boulevard and goes down Old Man Ashby Road. Looking at the 18-inch water main along Pisgah Road, that's on the western side of the system, Ebenezer Road, and then our 12-inch along Paper Mill Road and River Road. So our focus on our major lines in the system, and we didn't find any issues there. So once we identified no issues on the major lines, then we started looking at the smaller lines in the system and narrowing our way in from that perspective. It's a team effort. We want to thank the employees. They sacrificed their Christmas Day to come back to work. So big kudos go to those staff employees who are out in the weather doing the hard work. And we also want to thank, as the mayor mentioned, our partners with AECOM Engineering, CDM Smith Engineering, South Carolina Rural Water, Complete Utilities, where those folks didn't have to come and help us and make sure we were looking at all the things in the proper manner, but they made those sacrifices to lead their families as well. So those are the people who deserve all the credit. This is just part of what we do as the city of Florence and in our roles and position as employees of the city to provide the highest level of customer service as we possibly can.
You know, basically what I want to say is, you know, we are aware of the inconvenience and the frustrations that the water issues that cause our citizens and our customers, and we take that extremely important, and that is why we, as soon as we were notified or made aware of the situation, that we mobilized as many of our employees as possible to start combating the issue. This is probably the one time, and Michael might laugh at me, this is the one time where I really wish we were looking at, you know, a water main that blew part of a road out, because then there you know where it is. It has been extremely frustrating for Michael, Jerry, and their team to try to isolate the problem, the smoking gun, if you will, when it comes to this issue. And I will just like to reiterate what everyone else has said. You know, our citizens have been great. They, you know, we asked them, you know, if you see something, report it to us, and they did. And you know, I want them to know that every report we received was investigated, and it turned up some, you know, additional leaks in our system. It also led us to some issues on private property, and you know, we took every one of those tips very seriously, and we pursued them, and it helped.
But we want to keep you updated, not just through press conference, but as we're having issues, as we're addressing them, go to our social media. But that is how we will contact you and continually to put the information out. So tomorrow, when you look for things when it comes to, in reference to the ball water issue, you will have that on those sites. So you don't have to wait for a press conference. Please, if you haven't already done it, I will keep reiterating, like the City of Florence Facebook page. Also visit ourcityoflorence.com. That will be your primary area to continue to get updates. But most important too, it gives you that opportunity where you can notify us of any issues. So we want to thank our citizens and ask you to continue to watch your city. Call in so we can do what's best for our city together.
This has been Chris Day reporting for the Morning News and SCNow.com. Thank you for watching.